What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be redoing the Gishki video as we got an update to the Forbidden and Limited list. But before I begin, if you could happen to click on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons, it would be greatly appreciated as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. Clicking on those notification bells would also mean a lot as they notify you when I upload on the channel. So I'll be starting this video with multiple 1-card combo along with a few other 2 and 3 card combos. So in this specific hand I'll be showing what we can do with just Grim or Focalization, and we're going to normal summon the Grim as we're going to use its effect, bringing out the Abyss as we're going to be able to use the Abyss effect, and from here we'll get ourselves a search. We're going to get ourselves Grim, which is follow up, and from here we're going to then link away into Sprite's Brand. We can then send ourselves a copy of Nimble Angler. Angler will get ourselves the 2 bodies with the 2 beavers, and now we can go into a gigantic Sprite as we're going to use its effect, and then we'll be able to bring out a copy of Sprite Blue. Now I would like to point out that in the majority of your low resource plays you will be going for the Sprite engine because it's what can get you to a more full board, as with the Gishki engine you're summoning monsters that search a ritual monster that you can't summon after using Gigantic Sprite, while your only other real target is Swap Frog, in which you need a little bit more setup for that. But from here we're going to use the Sprite Blue, and we're going to get ourselves the Jet. From here we can special summon out the Jet. We'll use the Jet's effect, which will allow us to get a search as we're going to get the starter. And keep in mind, for a few of these replays where what you search is dependent on what you're playing against or what your opponent has and what the situation calls for, I'll be grabbing starter in those situations. So always remember to search what the game state calls for. And from here we're going to go into Jin as we're going to be able to link away the Gigantic Sprite and the Nimble Beaver for the Masquerena, and then you'll get a set. And in this case it may be better to go for double plus if you play it. But this is just what your 1-card Focalization combo looks like now, with the ban of Elf and what we lost with the ability to revive Abyss for a second use of its effect. For this second combo, I'll be showing that you can basically do the same thing with Nimble Beaver as we're going to get ourselves the 2 bodies out, and this is just really a Sprite combo for what that's worth, and I still wanted to put it in this video because it's something that you'll have to know if you want to play this deck. So knowing that you can do this with either Gishki Grim, Focalization, or Beaver should help you a lot if you're learning the deck or learning Sprite in general. But you'll see that we're going to go into the Gigantic Sprite now. We'll then be able to get ourselves the blue. As I said, in most cases you will get the blue, but there are scenarios where you won't, and I will go over that in this video. So we'll special summon out the Jet now. We'll be able to get ourselves the search. As stated earlier, this can be Smashers or Double Cross if you want to search those instead, whatever the game state calls for. And we're going to end up making the same board here with just one of the cards in our hand. So for this third combo, and now we're going to take it up a notch, as what you're able to do with 2 of your power cards here, whether it be Gishki Grim along with Sprite Blue, or even Starter for that matter, along with Jet. Just a lot of different combinations that you can use for it, but we're going to start here by activating the Focalization, getting us the Grim. We'll then be able to normal summon the Grim, which will bring us out Abyss, and then from here we can use the Abyss in order to net us a search, in which we'll get another copy of Grim to our hand as we're going to link away into Sprite's Brand. And now we're going to send the Nimble Angler. Nimble Angler can get us 2 bodies as we're going to get the Beavers, and from here we'll be able to go into our Gigantic Sprite. We'll then use the Gigantic Sprite's effect as we're going to bring out our Swap Frog this time around, and this is because we'll be able to get an extra body on board. But we're going to send another copy of Swap Frog, bring out the Sprite Blue, use its effect, giving us the Jet in hand, and now we can special summon the Jet. The Jet will net us a search as we get the Smashers this time around, and now we're going to return the Swap Frog to hand. Then we can go into our Bujin Link 2, which is the new way that we'll be making Toad without Elf. So this is something that you also really do want to play in this deck, as we're going to use its effect here, allowing us to bring back the Swap Frog in our graveyard and special summoning the one from our hand, and then immediately exceeding into a Toad. Toad, as we'll be able to set our smashers here, move on to our opponent's turn, and Toad will be able to give us an extra swap frog on board in order to tribute it off for its negation, but we'll also be able to have the Sprint's effect. If our opponent special summons a monster, we can detach one from either or, and then we have the smashers set face down that we can just banish the Bujin link or the smashers, as it can't be used for link material anyways. So now I want to show another 2-card combo, and this time is Grim and If You Draw Swap Frog. So this is another nice combo to note because the abilities to make Toad are far from dead. And I hope this replay or combos do a good job in showing that, as we're going to get the Abyss in order to search another copy of Grim. We'll then be able to go into our Sprint. Again, like most combos, you're going to be going into Sprint. Gigantic, you want to be able to get all your engines going. So we're going to do just this, as we're going to go into the Gigantic Sprite using the Sprint this time around. And that is something about this deck that you may notice between the last combo and this one paired with maybe another one I showed previously, where sometimes you will use the Sprint in order to go into the Gigantic Sprite, but if you have another body, you can always keep the Sprint in order to keep the extra disruption. But from here, we're going to use the effect of Sprite here and get our blue, as we're going to use its effect, getting us our Jet. And now from here, we'll be able to special summon our Jet. Jet will get us a search, as we're going to get ourselves the smashers. And then from here, we're going to link away into Masquerena, special summon out our Swap Frog by pitching the Grim that we searched earlier. We'll then be able to send a copy of Swap Frog to the graveyard, as we're going to return the Swap Frog to our hand with its effect. And then we'll be able to link into the Bujin link, as we're going to use its effect, bringing back the Swap Frog from our graveyard and special summoning the one from our hand, as we're going to immediately exceed into Toad after that, set the smashers, and this will give us our board. Keep in mind that the Toad will bring out the third Swap Frog for your Masquerena if you have to use it. For this next combo, I'll be showcasing a 2.5 card combo in which we'll start by normal summoning the Gishki Grim, and then we'll be able to use its effect, which will allow us to special summon our Abyss from our deck, and this will be able to net us a search as we get our Gishki Vision, and now we'll activate our Focalization, which will get us the Gishki Shadow. From here, we'll be able to activate the Vision, get ourselves the search for the new ritual, as we'll be able to use the Shadow now, and this will get us the old Gishki Aqua Mirror, as we'll now be able to go into our Herald, and this is why we need the 0.5, as we're going to use the Herald to bring back our Gishki Vision, and then we'll put the Book of Eclipse back into our deck. So now we're going to activate the Gishki Vision, getting us another copy of the Ritual monster, and this is a cool thing that I want to point out in this specific combo, which is how you can cycle through your rituals while they also help you combo, but we're going to tribute one ritual off for the other, as we're now going to use the effect of the ritual on field to bring back our Abyss, as we're going to use the Abyss effect, and that will net us a search for the Shadow. We'll now use the Aqua Mirror in our graveyard, which will put itself back as we get the new ritual to our hand, and now we're able to get the Shadow to use its effect, and then we'll be able to get the Aqua Mirror again. Activate the Aqua Mirror from here, tribute off the ritual summon the other ritual, as we're going to get back the ritual, tribute it off for the Aqua Mirror, and with both rituals on board, now we can continue our plays, as we're going to go into our Sprint. The Sprint can now send the Angler. The Angler will be able to get 2 bodies on board through the Nimble Beavers, and from here we're going to go into the Gigantic Sprite with the 2 Beavers, as we're going to use its effect, and this will be able to get us into our Sprite engine, and now we'll start finalizing our board by getting ourselves the Jet. We'll then be able to use the Jet search effect, which will allow us to get a starter here, as we're going to go into the IP Masquerena. We can then activate the Sprite starter here if you want a carrot, as we already have 2 monster negations on board with the 2 rituals, but this is just an extra combo that I felt was cool to add because of how you're able to utilize the new cards together. Now we're going to move on to a couple of the more powerful combos before going into the best case scenario, I guess you can call it, and we're going to start here by normal summoning the Grim. We can then use its effect, bringing us the Abyss, and from here we'll be able to search a Gishki Vision, and keep in mind, you can search another Grim if you want to. You just just need the water monster, but from here we're going to link away into the Sprite Sprint as we're going to send off our angler, and then from here we can special summon out the 2 beavers as we're going to then go into our gigantic Sprite. We can then use its effect, which will bring out the Abyss this time around. We'll get a search with it as we're going to get the second copy of Grim, and then we're going to special summon out the blue. We can then get ourselves a copy of Jet, and from here we'll be able to special summon out the Jet, use its effect, which will get us the Smashers. We'll then be able to go into our Jin. We'll then be able to special summon out our Swap Frog by pitching the Vision and keeping the Grim in hand for follow-up. But we'll then be able to send another copy of Swap Frog, bring back the Swap Frog to our hand, as we're going to link away into the Bourgeon link, and then we'll be able to get our Toad by special summoning out the 2 Swap Frogs, as we'll be able to go into that Toad now, giving us a pair of negations along with the Smashers. Now, I want to show 2 variations of this 3-card combo here, because there's 2 different lanes that you can take with it, and we're going to start here by normal summoning the Grim, and from here we're going to special summon out the Abyss. We'll then be able to get its search effect as we'll get ourselves the Gishki Vision. We'll now use the Gishki Aqua Mirror in order to bring out the new ritual, and we'll use the ritual's effect in order to bring back the Vision, which is an extra level 2, which is nice, and we're going to use those to go into Sprint as we get to keep a body, and then we're going to send the Angler to our graveyard, bringing out 2 beavers, and now from here we'll be able to go into our gigantic Sprite as we are going to use the Sprint, and we're going to bring out our Sprite Blue this time around as we're going to get a search for the Sprite Jet. From here we can go into our Herald. We'll then use the Herald to bring back our Gishki Abyss, and we're doing this to put it back in the deck so that we can special summon it out again, as that's an important resource you want to keep in this deck, as you're going to now go into the Masquerena, and then we'll be able to bring out the Sprite Jet as we're going to use its effect to search, giving us any Sprite card that you want to search here, whether it be the Smashers, the Double Cross, the starter itself. But from here we're going to go into the Jin, and this will give us 2 monster negations along with the IP Masquerena to show you the first avenue that you can take with this combo. So for the second variation, we'll start with the Grim again, as this is going to be the main combo starter for a hand like this. And from here we're going to get the Abyss Search as we're going to get a second copy of Grim. We're then going to use the Aqua Mirror, which will bring out the new ritual, and we'll be able to special summon back out the Grim, giving us the extra 2, as we're going to link away into Sprint. Sprint will then send the Angler. Angler will be able to bring out the 2 beavers, and from here we'll be able to go into our gigantic Sprite using the Sprint, and then we'll use the gigantic Sprite to bring out the swap this time around, and that's the big difference that you'll be seeing in this one, as we're going to send the second Swap Frog to our graveyard, return the other to our hand, as we're going to be able to link away now into the Bourgeon link, and now we'll be able to use the Bourgeon link to get us into our Toad with the Swap Frog in graveyard and hand, and this will give us an Omni Negate along with the Monster Negate in the Gishki Ritual. With better zoning, I would also like to point out that in certain situations, maybe in follow-up turns, where your opponent actually has something on board and you can activate your Toad in the standby phase whenever that comes up, you can also get the Spell and Trap pop with the Bourgeon link via the Toad being on a pointer under. So finally, I can get to the deck profile, and it has definitely changed a lot since the last time I posted a video on here about Gishki, and it's because I tried to take that build more towards what my comment section asked for in my previous Gishki build, because I always like to deliver, but now I'm going to be giving a more standard build where we're actually on the nimble stuff. We have the Swap Frogs for the Toad, Book of Eclipses for the format. This can also probably be Nib evenly, maybe the Imperms, but I do like the high impact of either Book of Eclipse evenly or Nib. You'll see that we're only on 2 ritual spells right now, and it's also because you really don't need to pay the extra life points when this is also treated as a full tribute for a ritual. So that's really nice about Grim, as it copies Vision and Shadow in that sense. You'll see that we have 12 one-card starters here, which is kind of insane. All of these cards get you into combo and should give you at least a competent enough board, as long as you don't draw all your bricks along with 1 or 2 playable cards. Overall, I think this is a really fun deck to play, being able to still make Toad powerful boards up along with your ritual. Something that this deck hasn't lost through the ban list, but it's something that you just kind of have to build around. Seen in the combos, the Bujin, Link, and Sprint really do save this deck. While Gigantic Sprite remaining unhit will keep this deck alive, as long as the rest of the engines remain untouched, really. Outside of the 12 1-card starters, the cool thing is how the blue is able to pop off and basically be a starter when you have any of your level 2s, and that can really be a bunch of them, as basically half your deck is level 2s. So if you're worried about consistency, I don't think it's quite lacking there either. It really is just the garnets and how you draw, because you could end up opening both your Anglers, Book of Eclipse, and then you just have to hope one of your starters go off. I think another thing that this deck could maybe benefit from is more blowout cards like Raigeki and Harpy's Feather Duster, as being able to play through back row. Potential negation would just make its going second capabilities even better, as you do have a lot of gas going second, as you have potential normal summons that are 1-card plays. Your Gishki Vision and your Gishki Shadow can prompt responses on their own, depending on what your opponent's trying to play around and what point you are in the game. But aside of that, I really don't think I have much else to say. A lot of different cards really do lead to a lot of similar stuff as seen on the combos. So with all of that out of the way, I'll finally get onto the card by card. 2 rituals, the 3 starters, the 3 Grim, the 3 Beaver, the 1 Ice Mirror, the 1 Aqua Mirror, the 3 Focalization, the 2 Jets, the 1 Carrot, the Smashers, the 2 Angler, the 3 Abyss, the 3 Sprite Blues, the 1 Red Illusion, the 2 Shadows, the 2 Visions, the 3 Swap Frogs, and the 3 Book of Eclipse to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, and I'd like to think it's pretty standard, as we have the Goddess, which could either be one of these as well. These are just options that you can add in if you would like to replace the Goddess, maybe even the Downerd or something like that. Then we have the Appaloosa, the Unicorn, the Bujin Link, the Coral Anemone is another way to get into Toad if you have to, the Masquerena, the Sprite Sprint, the Zeus, the Downerd Magician, 2 Gigantic Sprites, the 1 Jin, the Oni Bimaru, the Herald, and the Toad to round out our extra deck. But anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.